Hello and welcome to...
Hey, I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your, I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your
Frank Miller's Holy Terror, everybody.
Holy Terror is the 5-year-long labor of love by Frank Miller. In 2006, on the anniversary of the September 11th attacks, Frank went on NPR radio broadcasting and said, "All of a sudden, I realized what my parents were talking about all those years. Patriotism, I now believe, isn't some sentimental old conceit. It's self-preservation. I believe patriotism is central to a nation's survival. Ben Franklin said it, if we don't all hang together, we all hang separately." At WonderCon 2006, Frank Miller announced that he was going to be writing a Batman story in which the Dark Knight took on Al-Qaeda. "Not to put too fine a point on it," Miller said, "it's a piece of propaganda. Superman punched out Hitler, so did Captain America. That's one of the things they're known for." The tentative title was Holy Terror Batman.
Yes, because when I think of Old Glory, Mom's Apple Pie, and being proud to be an American, I think of a black, blue, and gray-clad vigilante with a bat motif.
However, during the 5 years the book languished in development, Frank supposedly decided that Holy Terror was no longer a Batman story. He decided to focus on a new vigilante titled only as the Fixer. He stated that, "I decided partway through that it was not a Batman story. The hero is much closer to Dirty Harry than Batman. It's a new hero I've made up that fights Al-Qaeda."
Though I think the decision-making process went a little bit like this. Hey, DC, do you mind if I use Batman on a propaganda piece where he fights terrorists?
Never. Not in a million years. Absolutely not. No way, Jose. No chance, Lance. And yet, negatory. Nah. And of course, my own personal favorite of all time, man falling off of a cliff. No!
Before I dive headfirst into this book, I feel I should give a little bit of a history lesson about propaganda comics.
During World War II, American comic book companies began to use caricatures of foreign enemies in order to make points, ramp up their patriotism, or even hawk their wares. More often than not, they would feature comic characters either helping the Allies on foreign fronts, or defeating Axis spies here in the States. Propaganda in human society has existed since the beginning of recorded time. People have always used media in some form to elicit emotional responses and sway people to coming around to their way of thinking. And when you break it all down, that's really what propaganda comics are, a visual narrative on a printed page designed to provoke biased emotional responses out of its consumers.
And the emotion that Frank Miller's Holy Terror provokes from me? Well, let's just say it starts with an R and rhymes with cage.
We open up on a 2-page spread of a mock-up of the Statue of Liberty against the backdrop of a city. Either Miller thought his drawing board was an Etch-a-Sketch, or it's raining. Then we get a closer look at the not Statue of Liberty. Fascinating. It might be an in-joke to the Martha Washington book series Frank did years ago, but here, it just looks silly.
Ha!
We then see a woman in fishnets leaping over rooftops and going, "Woof!" Also, her shoes are covered in the blood of the Kool-Aid Man. She's being pursued by a man who also seems to be having breathing problems, going, "Huff." After another page of her crawling on thin air, it looks like, we get our first pieces of dialogue.
"Natalie Stack, cat burglar, on the run. He's right on my ass. Right on my ass. What's his goddamn problem? All I did was steal a lousy diamond bracelet, and now he's right on my ass."
Well, if we stop and take a look at that last sentence and see if we can find the reason that a vigilante would chase you What? The Catwoman analog, because let's face it, it's frickin' Catwoman, slips and nearly falls off of a rooftop. She clutches the side of the building with her totally un-cat-like claws.
"Lucky girl. Lucky. 9 lives and all that."
What? What, motherfucker? What? That's what I thought.
The wind kicks up and dislodges her from the building.
"I'm toast."
She's then saved by a Batman analog because, let's face it, it's freaking Batman.
"I knew it. The Fixer. Damn."
He swings around with her lovingly clutching his body until they land on a rooftop 2 pages later. He pops out handcuffs and says, "You're busted, girl." She responds by kicking him in the nuts.
"The hell I am, you son of a bitch."
They start to fight, her scratching him across the face and him showing a bloody smile. He then decks her square in the face, and we just have her lips there. Not doing anything, just kinda there. She then slides using her claws to slow her momentum, but she somehow has enough of it to push and leap off of a wall, with her knees apparently hissing all the way.
Look, if I keep getting hit by get-it jokes, I'm never gonna get this done, so you know what? Let's just get them all out of the way right now. Bring it on. Oh God. Oh God.
Now we are treated to perhaps the most poorly drawn and ridiculous fight scene featured on this show. Stack uses the momentum to drop-kick Fixer in the face with a FUD. She then kicks him with a conch. Fixer responds by punching her in the face with a crack. Stack then springs to attack Fixer again with her mouth.
Look out! She's using the deadly facehugger technique!
You're mine, you do-gooder prick. Yep, folks, Frank Miller has done away with all subtext, what little there was, and just has Fixer and Stack making out. They leap off of a building that looks like it explodes for some reason, holding each other tightly before hitting another rooftop with a crunk. After a wood and a thud, Fixer clocks Stack in the face, sending her to a wall with another FUD. She skids down by her claws.
I hate your guts.
Sure you do.
I hate your guts. You make me sick.
Sure I do.
I imagine this is essentially what Frank Miller thinks of when he sees Batman fighting Catwoman. Can you imagine what he thinks of when he sees Batman fighting the Joker?
Love lift us up where we belong, where the eagles fly on a mountain high. Love lifts us up where we belong. She then mounts him and says,
Make me sick. Now.
Sure I will. I will give this book credit for one thing, it does make me sick.
Just a slow night. That's all. That's all. That's all.
That's all. That's all.
That's all. That's all. That's all.
Suddenly, the story shifts to what looks like fingerprinting ink smudged over traces of nails.
The air burns. There's no warning. No warning at all. No warning at all.
A bomb has exploded, sending a Home Depot's worth of nails in every direction and lifting both Stack and Fixer off the rooftop. Stack gets a nail embedded in her leg. She then asks pretty much what the audience has been asking since page 1.
What the hell's going on?
It's war, darling. It's war.
The cola wars have finally reached our sleepy little town. Truly nowhere is safe from this capitalistic ego-stroking of two soda companies.
Fixer and Stack sit huddled on a ledge which is covered in nails against a white backdrop. We then shift to 10 minutes ago. From there, we see a young woman in pink standing over a rooftop looking over the city. I think.
Empire City, USA. It's cold, this city is. Cold and wet and noisy and so very proud of itself. Empire City. Cold, wet, noisy, haughty, arrogant.
You know, Frank, saying that a city has traits doesn't necessarily make it its own character, no matter how hard you try.
But I can see why he would rather tell us than show us that this city's its own character, because the artwork is abysmal.
Empire City, America. Empire City. Proud, arrogant, haughty, wet, cold.
Okay, this narration's starting to get repetitive. Now the woman in pink looks like Quasimodo in drag. Nice going, Frank. Whoa, what was that? A gas man go up or something? Wait, what? If this is 10 minutes ago, then what was blowing up? There's a caption box that says an explosion rang out, but it never specifies. It just waxes poetic about the sound. Was it the rooftop blowing up during Stack and Fixer's fightin' f***? The girl in pink apparently is standing outside a rooftop bar because she's met by a punk kid. And by punk I mean stereotypical 80s type of punk. And Frank, if you're going to do a face in silhouette, then why would you outline the curve of the person's nose and nose ring? It makes it look like someone dumped white out on the page and you smudged it. The girl then takes a swig of beer, complete with sound effects, because it's absolutely essential that we know that a person gulps down a drink. The girl then goes back into the club with the kid, who I'm not going to name because he's annoying, and after this scene it won't matter anyway.
Quite a crowd.
Yeah, this place is always packed. There's something under your coat. What is it?
Paradise.
We cut to now to have Stack narrating again. Goody!
Natalie Stack, cat burglar, reeling, a nail, a goddamn nail in my goddamn leg, a goddamn nail in my goddamn leg.
Frank, were you a writer on Deadwood?
How up is that?
Well, let me count the ways, Stack. 1. There's no indicator of distance from where Fixer and Stack are to where the Pink Girl's bomb goes off. From the amount of debris and smoke and shrapnel that was flung their way, one might assume they were in the general blast radius. However, in the upcoming panels, I will explain why this makes little to no sense whatsoever. Oh, and we get a shot of the Fixer's ass. Classy.
Fixer sucks in a load of something ghastly. He pukes it back out.
Turned out to be the new fragrance from Justin Bieber.
Another explosion knocks them off their feet, and they're now bombarded with razor blades. Fixer tries to catch Stack with her boot, but her foot slips out. She looks up as she falls with a simple "help" as her only word. Yeah, don't put any emotion into that scene, dude. Just have her show her green cat eyes and yell help. Fixer somehow hooks Stack with a chain and then runs across a rooftop, carrying her over his shoulder.
Who is this man, the Fixer? Why does he do it? Risking his life, hunting down criminals, saving people.
And why would he call himself the Fixer of all things? Was he a vet in his civilian life?
The bastards! The bastards! How many of my neighbors have they murdered?
We're then treated to portraits of people as they fade into blocks, which are multiplied into more blocks. Then we get this shot here, and it looks like the...
What? What? What do you want? Hey, stop it. Stop it. What do you want? You want answers to this dumb f***ery? You should be telling me! You're in it! You're a part of this!
And we see now what appears to be cars piled up with a giant high-heel shoe among the debris. Why? No reason! Fixer and Stack look at the carnage and do some dramatic posing. No, not on my watch.
Not on my turf.
We then shift over to the Commissioner Gordon of the piece. Not in my town, damn it! Sternum, scramble that maniac Steiger to Robinson Park. Tell him it's on lockdown. Lockdown, you hear me?
Sternum, send clavicle, esophagus, scrotum, and vas deferens to back him up. And if he has any problems operating the tank this time, tell him to look it up in the manual's appendix.
Dan Donegal, tough cop, on a tear. And apparently so badass he can spit out his cigarette and it just floats in the air waiting for him to come back to it. Tell Leibowitz I want his flabby ass commanding the East End. Sir Leibowitz is on vacation. No one's on vacation. Not tonight.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and tell him while he's stuck in Cabo because no planes are allowed in and out of the country.
From there we're bombarded with images. One of a radical terrorist, then some of rioters carrying weapons, caricatures of Michael Moore, Dick Cheney, Condoleezza Rice, Joe Lieberman, Al Gore, also more explosions with nails in them until we're left with a man holding a severed head. I am not going to show that image because, to be honest, I respect and love my audience.
You know, the last time Frank Miller did something like this, it was in The Dark Knight Strikes Again. The difference between Holy Terror and that book is that in The Dark Knight Strikes Again, the talking heads actually talked. Now, it's true that they didn't have any kind of purpose or reason for being there other than to distract from the fact that they had no purpose. But it also was a distraction from the fact that it made the book feel not only dated, but so politically motivated that any message they were trying to put across was lost in mindless, senseless saber-rattling.
Let me pause for a minute to bring up a much better comic. Amazing Spider-Man 471 was an issue where the heroes and villains of the Marvel Universe dealt with the September 11th attacks. Here you deal with the real, raw emotions from a horrific tragedy. You get the feeling that the attack affected not just the families of those who lost their lives that day, or the people in the immediate areas that were attacked. It was an event that changed the world. and you could see that in this comic as people came together to help in relief efforts, rescuing survivors, and trying to make sense of it all. Frank Miller's Holy Terror, in contrast, has none of that kind of thought or depth put into it. The only thing deep about this book is its flaws. Its many, many flaws. Speaking of which, let's get back to this thing or else I'll be here all day. All my life there's been something wrong. Something missing. A sense that everything I'm seeing all around me isn't true. That this seemingly ordered world of laws and logic and reason is nothing but a shroud, a chimera, a mask.
A chimera is a mythological beast. It's not a synonym for a mask or cover or anything of the sort. It makes no sense in the context of the sentence and is just flat out dumb writing.
I've got a captain on the police force.
You're shitting me.
Actually, it looks like he's you, but that's neither here nor there. Fixer tells Stack that Donegal is his mole, surprise, surprise, and she continues to insist that he is shitting her. Stack's knack for repetition still goes strong. But every once in a long while, the mask falls away. Every once in a long while, the whole world makes perfect sense. The world reveals itself. I am at peace and war.
You're insane. I thought I was a Pisces.
I hope I'm not in love with her. I've never fallen in love. I never want to fall in love. I must never fall in love. Never. Dear Journal, that Natalie Stack sure is swell. I mean, the way the leather clings to her frame, and the fishnets showing her perfectly smudged skin, and how that gimp mask looks on her is just so amazing. I know my parents were brutally slaughtered when a tune dropped a piano on them while they were celebrating Dad's retirement from the police force after making the bust of his career. And they were cosplaying as Germany and Italy from Italia Axis Powers for some reason, but that's not important right now. Fixer and Stack lead through splash pages that show the damage from the explosion. Okay, first off, wasn't the explosion on a rooftop bar? Was it a rooftop bar? It appears to be one since the previous establishing panel shows her on a rooftop. Then again, with the backgrounds of this book, it's hard to tell where anything is taking place. And let's say, for the sake of argument, that it was on ground level. Then it would have required enough nails and razor blades to give Bob the Builder a chubby, and exceedingly more explosives than that tiny young woman could conceal under her jacket to reach the rooftop where Fixer and Stack were. That is, unless they happened to be right next to the building when it happened. And say that the Pink Girls bomb was a separate event removed from the Fixer-Stack fight. Then why is that scene there? To establish the villains? If that's the case, then you spoiled it on the cover, dumbass! As they leap through the building's remains, doing absolutely nothing to actually investigate, Fixer says they aren't finding anything, and he calls up Donegal on his Dick Tracy two-way wrist radio.
Tracy to kids. Tracy to kids. Come in, kids. Come in, kids. It's here at last, the new Dick Tracy two-way wrist radio that keeps you in constant touch with your buddies. Easy to work. Up antenna, switch on, press talk button, and you broadcast from room to room, and even house to house. No wires needed, yet voices travel back and forth. Radio on the open road from one bike to another, or when out hiking.
Dad, I found a bear's cave.
Be right down, son.
The powerful, fully transistorized Dick Tracy two-way wrist radio is a real electronic instrument.
Make sure all the fellows get their A-OK Dick Tracy wrist radio so they can keep in touch. Over and out.
The one and only Dick Tracy wrist radio, wherever American toys are sold.
Donegal tells Fixer about a suicide bomber who was beaten up by bar patrons when his bomb failed. He then says that the bomber is being helicarried to the hospital when Fixer shouts out, "No, you moron! Aren't you good for anything? Land that chopper now! Those creeps are organized! They know where each other is, and they've got Stinger missiles!"
How do you know they have Stinger missiles? Did you do any research for this kind of attack? If so, why didn't you tell the authorities? I'm pretty sure they'd like to know something about this. And they know where each other are, not is!
The chopper blows up, killing the doctors and the would-be terrorist. And, oh look, Frank gave us some visual aids in case we were too stupid to know who was on the thing. You know, Frank, showing us faces of people we don't know with no names, info, or any kind of background given doesn't mean we care about them dying. Their loss of life is tragic, but then again, you're just setting them up to be killed anyway, so the floating heads there are not only just pointless, they are emotionally manipulative and disingenuously demanding that we care about them. Go screw yourself, Frank. Fixer says, let's get some killing done. And here's where I have to pause for a second and give a hypothesis. I believe that this is the point in the narrative where Frank Miller said, this is no longer a Batman story. And that one sentence right there should tell you why. Batman doesn't kill. He doesn't need to. He spent his life trying not to be the same kind of monsters that he hunts. Now, he skirted the issue several times, and there was that one time with Darkseid and the end of all things, but I think you can make an exception for that. And even then, Batman just shoots him. Superman's the one who finished him off. With karaoke.
However, it seems to me now that Frank Miller had this whole thing planned out, and then when he sobered up, he said, oh balls, Batman doesn't kill. Oh, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Okay, I gotta fix this somehow. Fixer! Yes! Fixer! That's who I'm gonna name the hero. I'm gonna name the hero the Fixer. And for Catwoman, well, oh boy, that woman sure is stacked. Stack! Natalie Stack! Yes! That is who I'm gonna name her. She's Natalie Stack. Fixer and Natalie Stack. I am a genius. Genius!
So Fixer and Stack find themselves some stereotypical terrorists and start a killin'. Fixer dons twin 45s and Stack slashes them with her claws. You know, a running theory is Frank Miller has never really stopped writing Sin City. I think this provides more than enough definitive evidence to substantiate that claim. And more purposeless floating heads because that makes us care. They let one live so they can torture him for information. They do this by suspending him by his hands and feet from an unknown precipice, and by Fixer standing on his back, carrying Stack on his shoulders.
I'm pretty sure the combined weight would have torn the guy's limbs from his torso, if not snapped his back completely. But then again, if that happened, Frank Miller would have probably had Fixer and Stack surf down to the streets on the disembodied torso.
And yes, they make fun of assuming his name is Mohammed. Nice. After the torture, Stack activates the explosives that were apparently on their captive's body, and the ledge they hung from apparently has only 2 rungs with ropes on them. So how did that whole panel just happen if they're hanging from an adjacent vertical platform? Is it the same way Spider-Man just shoots webs anywhere to swing places? Now we have Sarah Palin, some other guys, people watching a giant robots movie, people throwing rocks at a still living disembodied head.
What is the point of these images, Frank? Are you trying to piss people off? Are you getting so hard up for attention that you're trying to be some third-rate provocateur? Is Sarah Palin gonna say anything? Is she gonna add anything to the story? Or is Michael Moore or Al Gore or any of your floating heads that you put in this piece of garbage? I'll answer that for you. No! They do not! These people add, contribute, benefit, enhance, and bring to only one thing to this story, and that is a great big, heaping pile of Oh!
You cannot just put caricatures on the pages and expect people to give a damn. Oh wow, look, it's Hillary Clinton, Sarah Palin, Nancy Pelosi, and Al Gore. Who gives a shit? All this does is date your story, jackass. Speaking of, let's continue before I have a fucking stroke. Fixer and Stack go to meet a contact by stealing a cop's car. It says cops instead of police, so maybe the TV show finally made their own brand of vehicles. Planes shoot missiles at the dreadlocked Lady Liberty and shoot her in half. Fixer and Stack meet up with his contact. From there we meet twin Mihos from Sin City and a Jewish question, with the Star of David tattooed over his face.
And guess what? His name's David. Yep. You don't even need me here, do you? This book's starting to make fun of itself.
I first hooked up with David a few years back, when I was adventuring in Yemen. He taught me some things, set me up with some connections.
He taught me how to do the electric slide and how to get a cape and mask for a good price.
Fixer then tells Stack that the ladies under David's employ are going to murder the police commissioner who is a mole for the terrorists. He misdirected every squad car in town.
Well, which way did it go, George? Which way did it go?
Even if that's the case, they're on to the deal now and should be cracking down hard, not to mention calling in the National Guard. And since this is an attack on American soil, the country would be locked up tighter than Maid Marian's chastity belt from Men in Tights. especially if there are multiple attacks within the same localized city limits.
And that brings me to this point. What's going on in the rest of the country? What's happening in cities like Gotham or New York City or Innsmouth?
Stack asks Fixer why he fights crime. Practice. Stay in shape. Getting ready for tonight. I've spent my whole life getting ready for tonight.
Tonight, I'm gonna be on Dancing with the Stars. Finally, I'll have my chance to dance with Karina Smirnoff.
David, he doesn't like me.
He doesn't trust you. You haven't been vetted, and he thinks I'm falling in love with you.
Well, are you?
Yes.
And yet somehow, this is a better love story than Twilight. By just this much.
So Fixer and Stack stand outside the oldest mosque in Empire City. We don't know their plan. We don't know their fortifications, their defenses.
So you probably don't know about the snipers who might be looking for trespassers to air out a cranium or two, or the silent proximity alarm, which could alert reinforcements to come out and make you a smear on the sidewalk. So it's probably a good thing that you came out in your gaudy little outfits and started up a conversation about how you guys are going to take the terrorists down. I mean, since this is clearly their base of operations.
The Fixer tells Stack he has a friend who is somebody who doesn't command an orbiting laser cannon that doesn't exist. He then sends Stack in to check out the interior. She manages to do the old drag them into the bushes and steal their clothes bit to a poor hapless woman. Bear in mind that to Frank Miller, these guys will likely kill this woman for being undressed when they eventually find her. Our heroine, folks, leaves women to die horrible deaths through no faults of their own. She's quickly captured and brought downstairs, and we see this. Spartan helmets, alien faces, and a gigantic bestial maw on the walls. Mirrors on the ceiling, pink champagne on ice, which they probably got from Nicki Minaj's river over there. Stack is brought to a Scottish bomb maker who is apparently building the black hole generator from Event Horizon. After he makes several racist references, which I won't repeat here, he asks for a specific part she is supposed to have. She reacts by killing him with sweet chin music before avoiding a T-Rex and gunfire. Yes, I know what I said is silly and it looks silly, but screw it, it's there, let's move on. She then dives into the pink lemonade and two goons swim after her. Apparently she isn't just fighting them, but an undead version of Flounder from Little Mermaid.
Fixer, where are you?
When something's dark, I wanna shed a little light on it. When something's cold, I wanna put a little fire on it.
They don't kill me.
I normally would ask why, since Stack has no way to stop their plans and she isn't worth much to them alive anyway, but I'm going to just chalk it up to everyone on this world being underwear pissingly brick stupid. Stack is tied up, and of course in true Frank Miller fashion, she's tied up in the most overindulgent, hypersexualized way possible. Then we are introduced to the leader of the terrorist cell. Apparently it's being run by a drunken and brainwashed Warwick Davis. Seriously, he's about as tall as Stack is on her knees. He admits they're keeping her alive just to kill her on video later, which makes my point for me. Fixer shows up sporting what looks like a green motorcycle visor and kills some more goons before rappelling from the ceiling and firing twin pistols. Fixer gets shot on the way down and then throws grenade pellets to take out some more minions. Fixer then whips out a rocket launcher, or it could be Rob Liefeld's version of the Nintendo Super Scope. He fires a shot blowing up the bomb. Fixer and Stack are knocked into the water where he unties her. They surface just in time to describe to us what was in the bomb that the cell was going to use.
His knees hit the floor. They drag the rest of him down with them. The sound is soggy, all wrong. He vomits blood, a whole lot of blood. It takes a while for him to stop. He gurgles out what should be a scream. He starts scratching himself all over like he's covered in beetles. He doesn't stop gurgling. He rips at his clothes, his nose, his ears, and eyes start bleeding. He keeps scratching. He pulls his hair out in clumps. He claws out his face. He wrenches his right eye from its socket. He digs into his doughy flesh. The skin comes off in sheets. His stomach splits open. His guts spill out. His left eye goes dead. His right eye dangles above his cheek. Staring at nothing, he goes limp. This is what they planned for us.
The world's deadliest itching powder? That's essentially what they concocted.
Let's get the hell out of here. Stack helps fix her up the stairs, even saying that he is bleeding profusely and is in danger of dying from the very same itching gas that he just exposed. Come on, big man. Let's get you up to where the air is clear. Thanks to you.
But it won't be for much longer when you bring the gas with you to the surface. Since this clearly doesn't take place in a vacuum and you have no idea how far this will spread, but hey, I get it. You needed to bring your crazed boyfriend up to the surface to save him.
You have to make it. You just have to. Yeah, we never see them again after this panel. I'm going to assume that Fixer died from his wounds and Stack chose suicide over being alone. We then cut to 6 weeks later and the last page of the comic shows Dan Donegal in bed. Dan Donegal, a hard man, a tough cop, shivering in his sheets like a scared little boy. 6 weeks since the bombs and the blood and the screams. 6 weeks, and what does Captain Dan Donegal have to show for it? A noisy, cranky city, turned all quiet and scary polite. A cough that comes out of nowhere, making the most body-proud health nut sound like a chain smoker. A bed gone lonely. Children's toys turning up in strange places. The same sounds, the same smells, every damn night. No wonder they call it terror.
What happened? No, seriously. What happened? Did he lose his wife and kids in the attacks? Did his wife take the kids away for some reason that wasn't disclosed? Seriously, this is only one of 3 times we ever see this character, and this is the only explanation we get for all our trouble?
And that final line, no wonder they call it terror. You know what would have made this book a little more compelling, Frank? Focusing on the people living through the tragedy. Not floating faces of people we don't know, but actual living, breathing people who are suffering through this kind of devastating attack. But instead, you opted to turn Batman into Clint f***ing Eastwood with Catwoman as Sandra Locke.
I absolutely and wholeheartedly refuse to believe that this story took Frank Miller 5 years to complete. The reason I say that is because these are clearly Batman knockoffs. I mean, the attempts to change their names are so lazy, it's amazing that there were any changes at all. Frank Miller had to know that this story would piss Batman fans off extremely, and so he had to change the names and everything else just to cover his own ass.
And the art. Where do I even f***ing begin? Let's start with the background. Well, that was short because there is no background to speak of. It's either all smudged and hard to tell where the action is taking place, or it's blank and has random shit surrounding the characters for no reason other than Frank going, "Here's your damn background, now get off my lawn." This book is a failure of such monumental proportions it should be considered the stuff of legends. It fails as a propaganda comic because it doesn't promote anything other than saber-rattling vigilantism. There's no sense of patriotism here at all. Not once does it speak highly of the land they're trying to defend. Propaganda, especially government-sanctioned propaganda, has an aim to stir up patriotism within the masses. They want to make people want to support the soldiers that fight for their freedoms every day. It fails as a work of art because you don't know what the hell you're looking at half the time. It fails as a narrative because the plot is dumb, the dialogue is sketchy and dumb, the characters are underdeveloped, unlikable, and dumb, the villains are stock, faceless, generic, and dumb, and we're treated to a full comic's worth of panels and pages unrelated to the main plot. They're just there to be there.
In the words of a great philosopher, this comic sucks!
Hey, I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your soul. I'll swallow your, I'll swallow your soul. 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 I'll swallow your soul.
When something's let me shed a little light on it. When
Ha